Yes.
Okay. I am Gaza Makauta. Though a lot of people call me G Code. They call me G Code for a lot of reasons. So I could be G Code to a lot of people in different ways. And lately, I've been called the rose that grew on concrete. It takes a very tough rose to grow on concrete. Well, I did a video earlier today, and a friend of mine, a prodigy, insisted that I should start making short videos that will be bordered around enlightenment, because I'm really worried about our generation, especially the youth of this generation. There are a lot of things that just work against us. There are a lot of forces that work against us. So I felt the number one thing that we need to do is to educate ourselves, to enlighten ourselves. Because personally, I feel that once you have a firm grasp of what your challenge is, you already have a solution to it. Now, why do I use the word enlighten ourselves? I find I like to relate to history, because if you don't know where you're coming from, you never know where you're going to. So when you look at the history of the world, they tell us the world is 2,000 plus years old, according to archaeologists and the rest of the historians. Now, when they say it's 2,000 years old, it's broken into centuries. But for the sake of time, I would not want to go into all the centuries. But going through all the ages, there are two of them that I find very interesting. First of all, the medieval age, and then the Renaissance age. The Renaissance age is what they love to see the age of enlightenment. Now, it was when man started thinking for himself. Then it moved to the industrialization age. Now, the Renaissance age was when a lot of those Europeans started thinking, as some people would like to say, thinking out of the box. And there is this writer I love so much. His name is René Descartes. But I know the Africans pronounce it as René Descartes because it's spelled Descartes. He said something in Latin, that cogito ergo sum. So it means in English, I think, therefore I am. Now, in the age of enlightenment, the Europeans started thinking out of the box. And while the Europeans were thinking, the Africans actually put in the physical and the religion in one box. While others were thinking out of the box, the Africans were busy putting religion and physicality in one box. But that is a topic that we'll talk about next time. I want to concentrate on the youth today. Now, if you have enlightened yourself, it means you already have an idea of what your problem or challenge is, and then you know how to tackle it. So that's why I always tell the youth that for you to be able to tackle an idea, first of all, we need to study history properly. And history are always found in the pages of books. Why do I always insist on reading history? Because when you read history, you understand most of the mistakes others made, and how to proffer solutions to some of those mistakes. Now, the problem I find with our youth is we are not really bothered about finding out what our history is about. Now, there are a lot of challenges against the Nigerian youth, especially the 21st century Nigerian youth. There are a lot of vices against him, but he seems not to bother. I, for example, would like to say I look at my generation as one of the strongest and toughest generation. Why do I say we're the strongest and toughest generation? Because we're stuck in between two generations. We're coming from the old block, the old school, where all we had were just TVs and landlines. TV started by 4 o'clock and then ended by 12. And landlines, just the privilege, had them at home. So the old school understand that. And then there is this new school that have never experienced all these things that I'm talking about. It's the jet age, smartphones, and all these other things. So they cannot relate to the old school. The old school are finding it hard to fit into this world that they suddenly found themselves. So we in the middle now, my own generation, are caught up in between both generations. So it means it gives us the opportunity to be better leaders because we understand the old school and we can relate to all those things. And we equally understand the new school because all these things came right before us. We saw it right before our very eyes. All these things happen and they're still happening in the jet age. So I feel that we will make better leaders. But when they tell us that it's a generation that has lost course, the gospel truth is, where are the opportunities for us, the youths? Those opportunities have been lost due to the fact that our resources have not been managed very well. I was reading about Denmark today. Some of the countries that have really have given definition to what true democracy is. I can't believe it that in a democracy there's free education, free healthcare, free water, just name everything. It's just free. These are people that have managed their resources and they don't even have resources under the ground, above the ground, or even intellectual property like we do in Nigeria. So I do not want to dwell on the problems, but I actually want to proffer solutions to the youth. And the number one solution I feel is, I think we the youth need to start researching, we need to start reading, we need to start understanding what the true problems are. Because when you look at Nigeria as it is today, there are a lot of vices that are against Nigeria. Yes, I know pre-colonialism, neo-colonialism is a problem. And then the democracy we practice, I personally, well, it's going to be a topic again for another day. But I feel there are fundamental things that are wrong with our system, but the youths don't seem bothered about it. For example, in a budget, they tell you that a complex is going to be renovated for 16 billion naira. Now, how much are you building a new complex, or you're just renovating a complex for 16 million? Is the paint made of gold? Are the blocks made of gold? Why are the youths not bothered about asking all these questions? So I feel we need to start participating more, because the future is now for us, the youths. If we don't rise up, there is no future for tomorrow. How do we participate? It's very simple. There are a lot of political parties in Nigeria. What do? You register with one political party. Of course, I cannot say you should look for that who has an ideology that suits you, because when you study most of the political parties, to be very honest with you, most of their ideologies are almost the same. It's Africa for you. It's not just synonymous to Nigeria. So that if you participate, now they are registering. They're doing their registrations. If you register, you get actively involved in the party politics. If they call for congresses, if they call for meetings, you try and go. When it's time to hold congresses, you buy forms. Now, I know that the minority will always have their say, but most times in democracy, majority have their way. Just as I was telling a friend the other day playfully that even if this majority are idiots, as long as they are the majority, they will always have their way. So you have to participate if you really want to see a future for this country. And by participating now, you have solved half of the problem. You are in the party politics now. When it's time for elections, let's say come 2023, for instance, by 2022, they're getting ready for primaries. Now it is just those people that participated in the party structure that will be able now to vote for the secondary leaders. Now this is where we don't get this thing right. The youths now will go to sleep, wake up maybe late hours of 2022 and start shouting again, but things will never change like that. So the first one is, let's participate and find out. Participate, get involved, so that when it's time for the secondary elections, you start seeing a reflection of some of those people that you really want to lead you. That is the only time that when you have half of that majority representing you, maybe in the National Assembly or House of Reps, you can get rid of the main problem of Nigeria, which is our constitution. A lot of arguments and submissions are always presented that no, it's leadership, no, it's followership, no, it's corruption, no, it's this, no, it's that. The gospel truth is, if we had a working constitution, it will automatically take care of our institutions. So if we participate, then we can get the constitution we want. If we get the constitution that we want, then it's easier for us to present or to live in the kind of country that we intend to see ourselves. So, like I said earlier, why did I choose cogito ergo sum? Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. But how can we start thinking as youths? First of all, we have to read. I see a lot of youths with their phones. There are a lot of information on the phone, but you'll be amazed when you go through the phone of a youth and see all the sites he goes to. It's nothing that will add value to him. Now, if we do a lot of research, we read, you know, there is one thing we don't understand. The human being is partitioned into 3 or 4 different beings. There is the physical aspect of the human being. There is the spiritual aspect of the human being. I'll leave. There is the cognitive aspect of the human being. Now, the physical body needs food. We all know the physical body needs food, and we have different categories of food: carbohydrate, proteins, vitamins, fats and oil, and all the rest of them that we were taught in primary school. Now, if you eat all the composition of this food, it gives you a balanced diet. Now, that is how it is with reading too for the youths. We have to read all the categories of books, so that if you have all the classes of food, your head, your mental and your mind is balanced, so that you will not have what I like to call kwashako of the mind. So let's say, for the sake of this conversation now, we have the carbohydrates of books, the proteins of books, all those are now categorized into, you read, let's say the carbohydrate now, for instance, could be autobiographies. If you read autobiographies about all the great people and all the wonderful people that have walked on the surface of this earth, you learn most of the mistakes that they have made, so that you will not repeat the same mistakes. You learn how they succeeded, you learn how, so automatically when you keep reading and reading, you see that most of these leaders had 1 or 2 things in common that used to drive them. So it helps us to, as youths, to be guided, you know. So it's my earnest prayers that we will see the Nigeria that we have always dreamed of in our lifetime. I know it's achievable. There are a lot of things that have turned around. If you take Rwanda as a case study, Rwanda in 1994, there was a speech that was made by, I think, Bill Clinton then. He said, never again should Africa go through what happened in Rwanda. But we all know that these are political statements. The Europeans don't actually care about what happens in Rwanda, as long as their business interests is is sustained, you know. So look at Rwanda in a span of, this is the 27th year now, from 1994 to 2000, 2021. Now look at Rwanda. Rwanda is talking about artificial intelligence. Rwanda is talking about nanotechnology. Rwanda is talking about electric cars. It is talking about sustainable agroeconomics. It is talking about what people should talk about in the 21st century. But I sometimes just want to cry when I listen to some conversations, especially the ones we have as youths. We're still talking about archaic things that happened in the 18th century. We're talking about religion. We're talking about ethnicity. We're talking about underdevelopment. We're even talking about trying to meet up with the basic necessities of life. And why I say that this particular generation, if tuned towards the right direction, will achieve a lot is because one, we're very resilient. I think on the face of the earth, the most resilient of them all is the most wretched of them all too, who is the Nigerian youth, you know. So, and going through the pages of history, I've seen that nobody will just give it to you on a platter of gold. We have to step up and present ourselves, but with love, to the older generation, telling them that we're ready for leadership. We're very much ready for leadership. When you look at some of these serious European countries, their leadership is handed over to the younger generation, and they're doing well. Why? Because they have internet on their side, and the internet has brought a lot of revolution around the world. We don't work while we go to sleep. It will only work when we come out and present ourselves and join in building a society that we want to see, not just ourselves but our children to thrive in. So as I would always say, God bless Cairo, God bless Nasarawa State, God bless Nigeria and everywhere else. I give